My next guest is Gary Brantley. He's the Chief Information Officer of the City of Atlanta. He's the former CIO of DeKalb Public Schools. He's someone who's been at the forefront of making real change in the area of digital inclusion. Gary Brantley, thank you so much for joining us today. And I should just say, all of us have been watching Atlanta, just so much going on there. I mean, the epicenter of so many waves. So I hope you're well. And I just want to get you a quick snapshot because you're responsible for actually, schools, inclusion, the digital world, and we've all been shoved into it. What's going well and what's not going well?
Yeah, I think around the country, you can really look at what's not going well. I think when Atlanta's no different, when we had to jump into this telework posture, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was our underserved community. And so when we look at our underserved community, what we were finding was a huge gap. I think your guest before me really hit on that. He really talked about, the 5G episode, which I have my own opinion on. But at the same time, we really started to see the disparities real time. And I think it caught the nation's attention around those issues, really trying to see how we can help our communities, at this critical time with the digital divide. But not only doing that, partnering with our universities locally. We have some of the top universities here in the city of Atlanta, and also making sure that our residents and our city services continue to flourish from the technology side of things.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Mike Rogers a minute ago just asked or mentioned some new lingo in this space we're all going to have to learn eventually. Sub-6, single millimeter wave, and I don't even know what they mean yet, but I, toss them out. But, is there an opportunity to leapfrog, to take this and create a better social contract than what we have today? I think always, from a policy guy, the question is, do you move incrementally, or is there a way to solve problems with a strategic leap? Do any of the technologies you see coming forward within your city give you an opportunity to redo things in a way you couldn't do from an incremental perspective?
Absolutely. I think, when you start to talk about this whole shift, even with COVID, I think that's proved to be extremely valuable for the city. It's allowed us to really be able to leapfrog in some areas that in government you traditionally take a long time, what I would call the whole turtle effect. I think that when you look at our ability to be able to pivot and move quickly around just the circumstances that exist, it really showed us that in a lot of spaces, we don't have to move incrementally. We can actually jump and leapfrog to where we need to be. And I think that, our actions have really proved that. When you look at our focus on having a digital city hall, that's really been a big focus. When you look at our focus on making sure our city departments can actually perform and actually operate remotely, not just short term, but long term. Those are different types of scenarios where we would have incrementally done this. But at the same time, with the things that are going on right now today, we were actually able to leapfrog, I would say, a couple of years ahead as it relates to city government services.
We're sort of in the storytelling business here in the Hills, so I'm always looking for good stories, and this is probably an unfair question. But when you talk about reaching communities that have been disadvantaged, left behind, left out, excluded, neglected, and you've been able to figure out how to wire them in, how to bring them in, have you experienced firsthand how this has changed their aspirations or the possibilities they have?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't become what you can't see. And a lot of times technology is that bridge for it. A lot of times, and I saw that specifically in school districts. I was in one of the largest school districts in the country outside of Metro Atlanta. And some of the things that we were able to accomplish in that short period of time was short of amazing. I mean, really putting thousands upon thousands, close to 70,000 devices in kids' hands, and also providing them with the training needed, but also providing internet access to those kids. It opened up a wide range of possibilities and opportunities to be able to learn Mandarin, and have those conversations virtually, to be able to see things across the country and across the the world that you normally wouldn't have access to. It really helps with language barriers. It really helps when you really start to look at some of those kids in those underserved communities who will never take a plane flight out of the city of Atlanta. That's huge. And what ends up happening is you start to see a transformation not only of your underserved communities, but also the interests in businesses that want to be a part of it as well. And so that's what we started to see. It really starts to push and thrive the economy locally where you're at. When they start to see the investment at the basic level around how you want to serve your underserved communities.
You know, one of the things that Mike Rogers, former Chairman Rogers, did is he took a kind of swipe at unnamed Western cities that weren't as 5G friendly as he wanted. So he didn't mention the Eastern city, Atlanta. But I'm interested in, as you get together, which I know you do, with other cities and city leaders around the nation, both in education, but also information officers, you know, what do you see as the legitimate resistance or concern points of some cities that aren't stepping the direction that Atlanta is going?
Yeah, I really, when you look at the benefit of 5G, a lot of cities have really, and I've been in conversations about this, they really haven't seen, the benefit of it. I think just now we're really starting to see the full benefits of 4G. And now we're jumping into 5G. And I'm sure this has been a conversation even before I got on here today around just the advertisement component of 5G. It's been from an advertising side of things, it's been really special. I think it's been tremendous. But when you look at the real benefits for the community, we're not really seeing them. I think Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport is one of the or was one of the first airports to be 5G. And so when you really look at its possibilities, I think they're great. When you really look at what it's giving us right now, I think it has a long way to go. We talk about especially in city and providing city services and making sure that we have that real-time data to make sure we're making the correct decisions and providing the right service vehicles for our residents. That data has to be at the edge. And so what that means is, we have devices that are sitting all over the city of Atlanta that can provide us real-time and quick data, but the 5G component has to be there. The infrastructure has to be there and in place for us to really be able to take advantage of the tons of data that will be sitting on the edge.
Let me just ask you finally, Gary, I wish we had a lot more time because, this is cool. I would love to go on a deep dive in a lot of these corners, talk about, kids in schools and all of this, but we're gonna have to wait to another day. But you do have something called Accelerate Atlanta. And, I know that the progress that you have to make, retrofitting a city, getting all the pieces in place, finding the funding for it, teaching people and educating and bringing them on is a complex system. How do you get the partnerships right? How do you set the tone right? How do you get real partnerships as opposed to just, sign on by name partnerships? I'm interested in that because I think a lot of people are watching, from around the nation. And I think these insights in the fact that it's not, a set of single players coming forward, but you do have a very successful partnership in Atlanta. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this partnership. First and foremost, I want to say it starts with leadership. I think, our mayor is a great leader for this city and has been since she stepped in place. And one of the things that we talked about is Atlanta is really known for this, shiny, smart city type of city and projects. And so what we wanted to do was really take that same energy and focus it on our underserved communities. And so partners like Microsoft came forward and we started to really have conversations around real impact. And one of the conversations that we started to have was, hey, I don't want to talk about all of the great technology you have and how you can help the city. I want to talk about how you can help our residents become better, become qualified, to make sure that the skill gaps that are there are skill gaps that are attractive to different organizations. And so this was a long conversation that we had with them. They came back, to their credit, and worked with us to get to round up several partners who had the same interest. And that's one of the things that was a difficult part. We talk about this stuff, but we never really have the partners on the same page. And so that's what Accelerate Atlanta is. It's going to give our residents the skill sets that they need. And I'm not talking about how to work a PowerPoint presentation. I'm talking about engineering type skill sets, cloud-based type skill sets that can really help our city become one of the best thriving cities, and really work on digital inclusion, which is a big, huge effort for our mayor and our city. And so we were able to do something, in my opinion, that most weren't, and that's to get everybody on the same page for a common goal and task and bring the right partners to the table. And I do want to credit Microsoft for that. They've been absolutely outstanding in sharing that vision.
Well, thank you very much, Gary Brantley, Chief Information Officer of the City of Atlanta. Really great discussion. I hope we can do this again because I think you've got a lot of insights into how to make this work. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Steve.